I wonder what Christmas was like years ago.
Okay, let's go see if we can find out.
One Christmas was so much like another in those years around the Seatown corner now, and all out of sound, except the distant singing of the voices that I sometimes hear a moment before sleep. That I cannot make it be remembered whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. It was in the day of the afternoon of Christmas Eve, and I was standing in Mrs. Prothero's garden waiting for cats with her son Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December in my memories, white as Lapland, although there were no reindeers, but there were cats. Patient, cold and callous, our hands wrapped in socks, we waited to snowball the cats. Sleek and long as jaguars and horrible whiskered, spitting and snarling, they would slide and sidle over the white back garden walls, and the link-eyed hunters, Jim and I, fur-capped and moccasin trappers from Hudson Bay, off Mumbles Road, would hurl our deadly snowballs at the green of their eyes. The wise cats never appeared. We never heard Mrs. Prothero's first cry from her igloo at the bottom of the garden. It was to us at the time like the far-off challenge of our enemy and prey, the neighbour's polar cat. But soon the voice grew louder. "Fire!" cried Mrs. Prothero as she rang the dinner bell, and the bell was bumbleating, and Mrs. Prothero was announcing ruin like a town crier in Pompeii. This was better than all the cats and the wolves in Wales, standing on the wall in a row. We bounded into the house laden with snowballs and stood at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who slept after midday dinner with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room saying, "A fine Christmas," and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade," cried Mrs. Prothero. "They won't be here," said Mr. Prothero. "It's Christmas." There was no fire to be seen, only clouds of smoke and Mr. Prothero standing in the middle of the room, waving a slipper as if he was conducting. "Do something," he said, and we threw our last snowballs into the smoke. I think we missed Mr. Prothero, and we ran out of the house to the telephone box. "Let's call the police as well," Jim said. "And Annie Jenkins, he lights fires." But we only called the fire brigade, and soon the fire engine came, and 3 tall firemen in shining helmets brought the hose into the house, and Mr. Prothero went out just in time before they turned it on. Nobody could have had a noisier Christmas Eve. And when the firemen turned off the hose, Jim's aunt, Miss Prothero, came downstairs and peered in at them. Jim and I waited very quietly to hear what she would say to them. She said the right thing always. She looked at the 3 tall firemen standing among the smoke and cinders and dissolving snowballs, and she said, "Would you like anything to read?" Years and years ago, when I was a boy in Wales, at Christmas time, it snowed and it snowed. Snow grew a night on the roof of the houses like a pure and grandfather moss, and settled on the postmen, opening the gates like dumb, numb thunderstorms of white torn Christmas cards. And then on Christmas afternoons I would go and call on Dan and Jim and Jack, and to part through the still streets, leaving huge, deep footprints on the hidden pavements. And as we passed Mr. Daniel's house, Jack said, "Let us post Mr. Daniel a snowball through his letterbox. Let us write things in the snow. Let us write, 'Mr. Daniel looks like a spaniel all over his lawn.'" And I remember singing carols once when there wasn't a moon to light the street. At the end of a long road was a drive that led to a large house. And as we stumbled up the darkness of the drive like night, each one of us afraid, each one holding a stone in his hand, in case, and all of us too brave to say a word, we reached the back, black bulk of the house. "What shall we give them? Hark the herald?" "No," Jack said. "Good King Wenceslas, I'll count 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we began to sing, our voices high and seemingly distant in the snow-filtered darkness around the house, occupied by nobody we knew. We stood together near the dark door. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. And then a small dry voice, like the voice of someone who had not spoken for a long time, joined our singing. A small, dry, eggshell voice from the other side of the door. a small, dry voice through the keyhole. And when we stopped running, we were outside our house. Everything was good again and shone all over the town. Perhaps it was a ghost, Jim said. Let us go see if there's any jelly left, Jacques said. And we did that. Always on Christmas night there was music, and Uncle played the fiddle, a cousin sang Cherry Ripe, and another uncle sang Drake's Drum. It was very warm in the little house. Auntie Hannah, what got on to the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death, and another in which it said her heart was like a bird's nest, and then everybody laughed again. And then I went to bed. Looking through my bedroom window, out into the unending smoke-coloured darkness, I could see all the lights and windows of all the other houses on our hill, and the music coming from them up the silent, steadily falling night. I turned the gas down. I got into bed. I said some words to the close and holy darkness, and then I slept. Enamelled within the world of the white blood of winter, sharp-shooting shirpers of snowballs challenge the children of prey. But they, the balaclavaed enemy, pygmy and igloo warriors of the doomsday front, were an icicle hash in a winter shroud. Balls of snow ping-ponged above an incendiary of mirth. 1 week of winter in that never to be forgotten white war. I weep for now. I weep for the warm memory of cold and snow harvesting days in the High Street, of small, cosy and mistletoed rooms, where we, the bugle-blowing boys of Philharmonic Avenue, were the household's orchestral midgets, paid not for the music we made, but bribed for the silence we offered. Those, alas, were the once only reminiscing years of paper-hatted hours, balloon-busting Christmases, and mornings of promised presents, when there were bows and arrows for the eagle-eyed and bleary-eyed alcoholic uncles for targets. Oh, now for that ice play-bound pageantry of yesteryear, when shriek of children on the home run hill of Toboggan Drive avalanched forever down in one whoopee of fun, whilst wind-swept, wild, escalating snow swirled and whirled around and away as a white feathered pillow fight in the dormitory of hibernation, slowly surrendering to the earth like relenting confetti onto the white wedding gown of winter, settling softly on small Welsh carol-singing Eskimos, basking in the musical snuggery of Christmas. And in my dreams, I see man as a child on the horizon of happiness, searching to savour the high tide of a season's bliss, the mirth, the music, and the magic of that merry-go-round of Christmas. But in the absence of innocence, I only hear the roar of ruin.